lasting regret, a regret from which there is no return. And we said that those sins were the first, the killing of an individual that was innocent. An individual that had no crime whatsoever, they're killed. That will bring about that lasting regret. Breaking off family ties will bring about lasting regret. And then the third thing that we mentioned yesterday were those individuals that delay or leave their prayer until it reaches the point that it becomes qada. The Imam says that the individual that does that will be filled with regret for the rest of their life, both in the dunya and in the akhirah. Because in the akhirah, the tariqus salah will not get anywhere near Jannah. The person that leaves prayer, the person that considers his prayer to be light, will not receive the shifa'ah of Ahlul Bayt, let alone the one that does not even pray. The one that considers it light shall not receive the shifa'ah of Ahlul Bayt, and the one that doesn't pray at all, he's going to hell anyway. So the third group was the individuals that left their prayer until the time passed such that it became qada. The fourth and the fifth I want to look at today, and then move on to a subject that I said I would talk about in the last few nights as per the request of mu'mineen, and that is the topic of death and the stages of death as a person enters those final points of having seen Malikul Maut. But before that, we need to complete this narration. So the fourth section that the Imam says, or the fourth sin that brings about regret in the life of an individual, says وَطَارِقُ الْوَصِيَّةِ, the person that does not leave a will behind, a person that does not have a will. This individual will be filled with regret. More so for his akhirah. That individual that forgets to write his will, because it's mustahab that every individual sleep with his will, regardless of their age. They sleep with their will under their pillow. Every individual should sleep with their will underneath their pillow, because no one knows when death will come upon them, and especially at night. An-nawm akhul maut, sleep is the brother of death. Sleep is temporary death. The soul leaves the body, that ascends to the heavens. It sees things. You know that feeling of deja vu that you have, that I've been here before. Is your soul leaving your body, going forward in time, seeing what is to happen, coming back, but you don't remember until you reach that point and think, I've been here before. This again, a discussion for another day. The intricacies of sleep, the interpretation of dreams, for another day. It says, An-nawm akhul maut. You don't know whether that soul that leaves the body will be allowed to return to it. So make your wasiyah. Also, especially if that individual has qada salah, write in there how many qada salah need to be repaid for you. Upon my shoulders, I've infringed the right of another individual. The will must write whose right must have within it whose rights have been broken and whom to ask forgiveness from. Because that journey into the akhirah is very difficult. A year they kept me under punishment because of a certain thing that I had done. Said, what was it? He says, someone had given me money to give them 18 Quran, and I never got round to fulfilling that order, and I died. I took the money, and during that period I died. When I died, for the money of those 18 Quran, they have held me for a year, punishing me, saying to me that I need to fulfill, and they would not have freed me had it not been for the fact that the person that I owed the money to had chosen to forgive it. This alim says that I wrote to my brother, he was in Iraq, he says I wrote to my brother in Isfahan, said go and find this person, and ask him whether verify this. So they find the individual whom their father had sold the Qur'ans to, and they say to him, is this the case? He says, yes, your father had sold me 18 Qur'an, then I found out he died. And then I forgot about it, and I knew I'd given him the money, and he hadn't given me the Qur'an, but I forgot about it. Sometime later I heard, after a year after his death, that it's good to forgive. So he says, I made a niyat, Ya Allah, I forgive him. As a result of that individual forgiving him, that person is freed from the adab in the qabr and allowed to go in. Haqqun nas is that thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive, that the shifa of Ahlul Bayt will not reach. That individual that has infringed Haqqun nas. On the night of Ashura, 3 days of thirst have passed. Sayyid al-Shuhada gathers his companions. They have joined him on the journey, many of them from the start, some of them from the middle, some of them towards the end. Many joined Sayyid al-Shuhada after as well, on Yawm Ashura. 30 individuals joined Sayyid al-Shuhada from the army of Yazid. That gives us this number of 72. So this tells us that this is on day of Ashura. These individuals were maybe 40 or so that surrounded Sayyid al-Shuhada. Imam gives a khutbah. In that, one of the things that Sayyid al-Shuhada says, he says that if any one of you has haqqun nas on your shoulder, i.e. you owe someone money, i.e. you've done dhulm on someone, I don't want you here, leave. Shab-e Ashur, Sayyid al-Shuhada is saying to his companions, if you have hurt anyone, if you have done ghiba of anyone, if you owe someone something, leave, I don't want you here. Tells us how important Haqqun Nas is. And day and night, we infringe the right of our fellow mu'mineen through ghiba, through lies, through fitna, through starting rumors. We constantly cause issues for the believers, and until that believer has not forgiven us, there is no salvation within the qabr. There is no salvation in the akhirah. And so the will must stipulate who to go to ask for forgiveness for. For that person will be filled with regret, will be filled with upset from the moment that they enter into the grave and they realize that they owe someone, they need to fulfill someone's right, or they've hurt the heart of another believer through their actions, through their words. Or even worse, that they have infringed the rights of Ahlul Bayt. This is worse. The believer on one side, what would you say of the person that hurts the heart of Ahlul Bayt? Through their actions, where the 11th Imam is saying, our Shi'as, be for us a source of pride, not a source of upset and humiliation. Meaning the way that you dress, the way that you address people, the way that you walk, the way that you talk, the way that you are, the way that you fulfill your wajibat. Don't let people look at you and say, this is a person that takes drugs. This is a person that drinks. How is that person a reason for the happiness of Ahlul Bayt? No matter how much a person wants to say, Ya Ali or Ya Hussein, if my actions do not reflect it, no matter how much aza I do, no matter how much salah I pray, and if I am still on polar opposites to the akhlaq of Ahlul Bayt, i.e. I'm a drug user, or I'm someone that drinks alcohol, there is no shifa for me on Yawm al-Qiyamah. There is none. How is it possible Then now even for the Aza of Sayyid al-Shuhada, I need to get myself ready. You know, this whole act of Aza, this whole series of Aza that we have, this is worship, this is ibadat. This is something that we classify as ibadat, yes? This is the reason for our nijat in the akhirah. So then why is it that we find ourselves using that very same Aza to promote ourselves or to better our own desires? I'll give you an example. We have now a culture of, if I am doing Azadari of Sayyid al-Shuhada, I make sure there's someone next to me filming. Yeah? That there's a photo, a good photo that's going to be taken. An opportunity. Salah, ibadat. Fasting, ibadat. Hajj, ibadat. All of these things. Reading Quran, ibadat. But nowhere do I film myself. Nowhere do I find myself being filmed. I'm saying I'm praying namaz, film me. Ibadat. So where is this idea come in from to our azadari? Something to think about. We need to analyze our lives. When I pray salah, how fast do I pray it? When I know there's people behind me, how slow do I pray it? This is all the riyah. That individual that is drowned in riyah, that individual that does any sort of worship for the sake of the people, be that even if I elongate my prayers so that people think, wow, what a spiritual individual, Allah will ask me on Yawm al-Qiyamah, if my azadari becomes slightly harder, slightly louder, when I see more people around me, or when I see a camera around me, Allah will ask me, if my hajj becomes such that I'm going on hajj and just taking selfies with the haram, or I'm going on ziyarat of Sayyid al-Shuhada and just taking selfies with the zarih of Sayyid al-Shuhada, for what purpose? It's ibadat. Why am I filming, documenting my ibadat? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Yawm al-Qiyamah, will ask those people of riyah. Where are those people of riyah? Those individuals that when they recited Quran, they saw people, so they beautified their voice even more. Or those individuals that sat on the member and recited those things that the people wanted to hear. I'm sitting here, I see that you agree with something, so I recite more and more and more in order to please you. Or I'm a qasida reciter and I see that you're liking my voice, so I add an extra turn to my voice. Allah will ask me Yawm al-Qiyamah, O person of riyah, go to those people who you recited for, go to those people who you prayed for, go to those people who you did your azadari for, because there is no reward here for you. This is riyah. Destroys us. One single thought, everything is useless. This idea of doing something qurbatan ilallah, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is very difficult. This idea of having the purity of heart when doing my ibadat is very difficult. It requires the purification of the soul. It requires a level of understanding. Then why is it that I'm praying? Rajab Ali Khayat is one of the Urafa that passed. He says in his life that there were many, for 40 years he did tazkiyat al-nafs, purified himself, and many of the asrar, many of the secrets became, the haqa'iq became known to him. The curtains were lifted in front of his eyes. He said after 40 years of tazkiyat al-nafs, he says that one day I decided that I'm going to pray salah only qurbatan ilallah, only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want anything. There's no ulterior. When we do dua, when we pray, at the back of our mind, Ya Allah, my economic upliftment, Ya Allah, my children, Ya Allah, my safety, Ya Allah, my business, Ya Allah, my education, Ya Allah, at the back of my mind. Says, for the first time in 40 years, I said to myself, let me pray only for the sake of the pleasure of Allah. He says, I prayed whatever it was, the 2 rakat salah, namaz Jafar Tayyar, whatever it was, I prayed it. That night in alam ru'ya, in the dream state, I heard the voice come to me, Chera dir omadi, what took you so long? What took you so long to realize the essence of ibadat is not